Welcome, guys. I'm so pleased to see so many of you here. This is our very first mental health awareness chat in Asians. And why we said just Asians, because we hold certain beliefs, we have cultural backgrounds that sometimes prevents us to talk and have an open conversation about the difficulties in life, the challenges in our life. We all go through challenges, and that's part of our life. But we don't have to suffer, and especially we don't have to suffer alone. Fear, pain, lack of support may change your anxiety and overstressing or overthinking into mental health crisis. And it can actually create life-threatening diseases like cancer and all these things. And recent pandemic has made it worse. And overthinking is becoming one of our biggest addiction. We worry about too much, we think too much. And according to the charity Mind, 1 in 3 BME adults suffer from mental health. What can we do about it? Do we recognize it, that we are suffering from it? Can we elevate it? Can we change the things? Yes, we can do all of that. But before we can do something, we need to become aware of it. And yes, we can support people who are suffering. And especially, loneliness is one of the biggest cause of suicide rate as well. And it happens a lot, yet we put it under the rug. We don't talk about it. We keep ourselves to ourselves, and we prefer not to share. Because I suppose we think we are going to be judged. That's one of our biggest fear. So let's start today this conversation. And I really hope it's first of many that we come together, we share if anybody else is suffering, if what are our experiences. And I am here, and I'm super, super honored to be here hosting this chat. And thank you, Mridulaji, thank you, Meenaji, for, coming forward and asking me that question, because I'm quite passionate about having a conversation, conscious conversation, bringing those things which are in the dark, which are hidden, to bring that to light so we can do something about it. So I'm here with Mridulaji and SA Greater Manchester Cancer Champions to talk about this awareness of mental health in Asians. My name is Sangeeta Dewan. If you don't know me, and I'm an author, I'm an energy healer, chat show host, a life coach, and I'm absolutely honored to be part of this group, and hope that together we can create a safe space where you can share your experiences, opinions, and feel supported. So that's me. Let's welcome Mridulaji. And Mridulaji, please introduce yourself and let everybody know what this show is all about.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sangeeta ji. I met you a week ago when you were launching your book. And I'm quite passionate about mental health awareness. My name is Madhu, or Mradula. And I've retired a year ago, exactly a year ago, and retired from diagnostic. I was a CT diagnostic lead for many years, followed by the last 5 years of my working life. I was a radiology governance manager. Nothing related to mental health. However, since retiring, I've joined Answer Cancer, voluntary cancer organization, and I'm the founder member of South Asian Greater Manchester Cancer Champions. So, and I'm working currently with as a volunteer, as a lead cancer champion. So that's me, really.
That's amazing.
Let's meet the cancer development worker, really. Let's meet Kirit Patel, who made it all possible for me.
Madhu, thank you for that great introduction. I'm not sure I made it possible. I'd like to just say, just to add to that, I'm a development worker on the Anti-Cancer Program. I'm based in Greater Manchester, and our main job is to excite, is to have a conversation on cancer awareness, because the low take up in cancer screening, and particularly bowel, cervical, and breast, amongst minority groups, carers, disabled people in Greater Manchester is not great, and we want to challenge that and change that, so that more people are going for their screening when the letters arrive or when their appointments are being made. And it's important that this is kind of fits into this conversation we'll have tonight, really, around how everything fits together, the physical, the mental, and the social, and all of these things are coming together. They're not, so we need to think about how we can help each other and support each other to have difficult conversations. I mean, I think one of the reasons that we hide, maybe because culturally we all come from backgrounds where privacy is such an important thing, but not feeling it's a burden on others. So all these conversations that need to be addressed, but also to address some of the fundamentals, really, that we need to have this open conversation, because cancer is going to be impacting 1 in 2 people in Greater Manchester, if that's not going to be a national picture too. So 1 in 2 of us is going to be impacted by it. So the more people are aware of the signs and the symptoms of cancer, the earlier the diagnosis, the earlier the detection, the earlier the treatment, and the better the outcome. So that's one of the reasons why our champions are so important to that. So all our leading champions, and some of them are here tonight, so which is fabulous. Suraj Ben, Kavita Ben, they're here as well. So I won't talk more, but I'm hopefully that this is a good starting point as it goes on. Sangeeta, so yeah, thank you for inviting me and being part of it.
Thank you so much. Who do you want to invite next, Madhu?
I think, shall we get introduce Suraj Ben next? Suraj Ben, over to you now. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Oh, hello, good evening, everybody. Lovely to see such a good number of people joining today. And thank you, big thanks to Madhuben for introducing me to this group and inviting to this group, as well as our South Asian Greater Manchester Cancer group. I'm volunteer, but I do a lot of work with Indian Association Oldham. And through that, I do get involved with a lot of community work with different age groups. And while I was working for Oldham Council as welfare rights officer. There I was working with all communities. And as Madhuben said, I am really passionate about mental health awareness, because that is something we really need to talk about. So I am happy to be here today, and as this is the first chat show, so I will be learning a lot, actually. So that's me.
We'll all be learning from each other's.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Do we? Oh, we've got somebody raising their. Do we have our Mina? Is it Mina?
Yeah.
Are you able to talk now?
Mute. Hi, everyone. I'll put the video on. Don't worry about it. I'm not too bothered about people seeing me or anything like that. But it's just one of those things. I don't like my face to be plastered all over Facebook. That's the only thing which bugs me. All right. But this one, I mean, mental awareness within our community, it's a very, very, it's my passion about it. All right. I worked as a Sane Line volunteer, and Sane Line is all about mental illness. And I was at the end of the phone answering phone calls. That's the only thing I did. But of course, we went through a very good training program, which ran over 10 weeks. And it was running over Diwali days as well. And I still attended those days. I said, forget about Diwali. This is more important. And that's how it worked. And it was over the weekends when we were being trained. And one of the things which I found out was that if I had a phone call from an Asian person and I would introduce myself as, oh, you're speaking to Meena. And as soon as I realized they were talking to an Asian person, I mean, they just let it all out, all right? Because they knew that this person can understand where I'm coming from. And this start, I mean, so it's very, very important. And in those days, I used to talk about it to various people. And I said, I think we should have not a 24-hour answer calls like Sane Line, but something which might be just over 2 hours every day. But how do we set this all up? And that's my question about it, because Asian community don't have any of these links together. And I think maybe we should start thinking about in those terms, that people can remain anonymous and still talk about things which they're going through.
Yeah.
And I can remember speaking to someone who was on the verge of committing suicide, and he was on high-rise building. And I could remember talking to him for over an hour. And I don't even know, even up to this day, whether he committed suicide or not. But it just brings out that satisfaction that you were talking to someone and you are providing some support to that person. So that is where everything comes from. And I found it quite, I mean, people used to ask me about it. They said, how do you cope with all these things? And I said, well, when I'm coming back, when I'm driving back at about 11 o'clock at night, I'm on a high. And if the police stopped me, they would think I'm on drugs or something. Because part of the reason was I thought, oh, I've done something great. My work never gave me that high, but this sort of work did give me a high. And I did become a trained counselor as well, but I've never worked as a counselor. I just do it on voluntary basis, and that's about it. Yes. So this is a very important subject which you need to address.
That's super.
Thank you so much. Amazing. Amazing. Do we have Santosh ji as well?
I don't think she's in.
Okay.
I haven't seen her, but she can, if she's delayed, maybe she can join the conversation wherever we're up to.
That's great. What I wanted to share as well is, about what Meenaji was saying. And I just want to share something that happened to me when I started broadcasting very earlier on in 2009. And just before that, I went into depression. And I remember just talking very openly about my life and my challenges and what do I do to get over things. And I remember having this call on my radio live show on Sunday. I used to do Music Masti, and the live caller came, and there was a young girl, young woman. And she said to me, Sangeeta ji, whatever you do, always talk about things, be on radio all the time. We would love to hear you. And I said, why? And she said, you don't know what you bring because you just saved my life yesterday. And I thought, oh my God, it really shook me. And I said, what did I do? And she said, I was about to give up on my life. I was going through challenges after challenges after challenges. And the way you talked about your challenges and how you're still so full of life and you still look forward to things, you still have joy in your voice. She said, you shared something very simple yet profound about your life, how you overcame your challenges. And that gave me hope. And I'm here today because of you. And it just sent shiver to me. And I thought, wow, if I can be me, being authentic, being real, being honest and open and share my experiences with people. And if it can save only one life, then I feel my life is well lived, and that's why what Meenaji was talking about. And that's why we are here having this conversation. And it is very, very important. So now you can see where my passion is coming from. So Madhuji, you take over. What else? What can we do now?
I think, well, as five of us have planned to, we planned to discuss about mental health awareness. Maybe, this is our first step, talking. And let's ask Sangeeta ji, starting from you. Do you know of anyone who is currently suffering, or do you know of anyone who has suffered in the past?
Yes. In my house, I'm going through a big challenge right now. And I'm going through the suffering a little bit, but I know how to ask for help. And my children are going through anxiety because my husband being diagnosed with the terminal brain tumor and is fighting right now. He's diagnosed in September. So I'm, in our household, we all are going through a little bit of difficulty right now. But again, I'm asking for help. I'm asking for support. We've been supported as a family so beautifully with St. Peter's Hospice, counseling team, and all these teams. So yes, I am in the midst of the challenge right now, yet I am passionate about supporting others, and my kids are suffering. But yes, we are right now.
Wow, that's amazing, that you're here leading as a host to try and support the community and going through at the same time, I don't have words, Sangeeta ji, but we have to be here for each other's. And we are one family. And this is where we must start. And I can't thank you enough because, as I said, I'm only hearing this about you for the first time, because I've only spoken to you very casually, and
Briefly,
I only know your title and what you've done and what you've launched your book, and I was interested in mental health awareness, and here you are, going through now the impact of cancer or any life-threatening disease. And cancer is one of them. And maybe we've also gone through COVID or going through, or any life-threatening illness that we are going through or our loved ones are going through. What impact does that make? And what impact that has on mental health?
Wow, it's a lot, isn't it? Mental health is so important, because I remember going through this, receiving this shocking news in September, and for first few days, I didn't know what to do, and I was in a shock. I was in grieving. I was like, because he was told that he might have 5 days if the operation doesn't go ahead to live, and we need to sort everything out. But I remember coming back, bringing him home from hospital, telling kids and seeing them, and me feeling, my God, my whole world is fallen apart. And now here I have to be there for my husband, be there for my kids. But first question I asked, but what about me? Who is there for me? Who can I reach out to? So I think because of the 10, 12 years of the study I have done, I have taken the spiritual path, and I have learned about the energy and how impact it has on other people. And first thing I remember, after 10, 15 days of going through all of that, I remember going out in a walk, and I felt, how can I look after him when I'm not feeling stable myself? And I remember thinking, just remember, Sangeeta, who you are. Remember how much work you have done, how many people you have supported. Stay with your energy, stay safe, stay balanced, stay peaceful, stay grounded. And just having that chat to myself brought so much stability in me and so much peace in me. And I remember next day, things started to fall in place in a very different way. Like how before it was chaotic, it started to become a little bit more clear, a bit more stable. And I could do things, very, very peacefully. I can go through that. But that's what we are talking. If we don't know what to do, if we don't know who to reach out to. It is a very difficult time. Anybody, we are talking about cancer, by any kind of trigger or any kind of, anxiety or pain you're going through, suffering. It's a very difficult place to be. And first thing you feel is very lonely. You feel because the whole world is okay. I am the only one who is going through that challenge, which is not true. But in that midst, we feel that.
I think you've actually raised a very important point, that, you have to, before reaching out, you have to be aware, and you have to think about yourself, which we never do.
Yes, that's the hardest thing.
If you're actually not experience how to, if you don't have the awareness of mental health.
Yeah.
Because in our community, I think mental health is not an illness. It's not an illness. It's shameful. It's something that you don't talk about. It's something that you never actually improve. It's something that needs to be hidden. So if there is so much lack of awareness, and if you don't recognize yourself that you need to look after yourself first in all this, you've got your 2 children, you've got your husband who's been diagnosed, and you can lose it all if you actually can't control your and recognize that
that's no,
you
you
are
said
affected.
Yeah, it is, awareness is the key in any kind of things that we take step for. Because again, I always say in my coaching as well, when I'm talking to other people, I cannot give another something I don't have, so I need to be stable to make sure that my kids are stable, to make sure that my husband receive everything else. But we can ask other people as well, guys. You can raise your hand if you want to share any experience, and we want to know that, do you know anybody who is currently suffering from it, or are you going through something difficult time and you would like to share? Raise your hands or unmute yourself. I think you have the power to unmute.
To unmute myself, all right. One of the things I think people should be aware of, that there was a very conservative figure which was given for people with suffering from mental illness. And this is years ago. They said 10% of the population is suffering from mental illness. So when you go into work and you see 10 people, you think there's one person going through mental illness. But that was a very conservative figure. At the moment, I think it's about 3% or 4%, if I'm not too mistaken. It's not it's gone up, like 3 people in 10 would be struggling with something or other. They just don't recognize the fact. So I think it's like mental illness would count for PMT, all sorts of cycles. If they're ill in their body, they're going through mental illness. If they live on their own and they're going through mental illness of some sort or the other. And then if they're going, not all of them, because there are lots of ways of coping with it, and people have found their own ways of coping with it. But there could be someone who's married from outside. They look very, very happy and everything, but inside it might not be quite right, but they can't talk about it to anyone. In work situation, they might have problems with their managers, senior managers, so they're going through mental illness again because they can't talk about certain things. So there are loads of places where the mental illness is around. And so it's a very vast topic. And of course, with the young, because most of the people who are here on the screen, they've got children who are growing up and everything. And if they start on drugs because you don't know anything about it, that is a self-inflicted mental illness of some sort, because all these drugs and everything does have side effects of psychosis, and all sorts of things can go wrong. So it's a huge, huge, huge topic. So I think we might have to concentrate on something which is like, forget about the drugs, self-induced, and how do we cope with all these things. And Sangeeta has just shown how she coped with her problems and everything. So maybe we could start with, I don't know.
What you've actually mentioned is that anxiety and depression are part of life.
Yes.
So
some people thrive on stress, you see, that's the thing. But how much
but
stress?
at certain level, but then it can actually go beyond that boundary of anxiety and depression, and then it can escalate further. So if you're not aware that you're suffering from anxiety or depression, and you don't do anything about it, you don't recognize it, you try and live in some sort of a way, and you carry on, and that becomes normal. And then that can lead into serious mental illness.
Absolutely.
And go beyond that boundary, and affect you to that extent that you cannot come back then. It makes it difficult. And that is what we've got the basic depression and anxiety, basic anxiety in everyday life, but then that can escalate if it's not under control.
I think Kirith wants to contribute something he wants to say.
I just want to add to, I think this is a good start to, I think as Mina was describing there, that actually this is a much larger, I know for now, we just started, I think, on a journey of describing and thinking about what this looks like for people. Sangeeta, to share what you said at the beginning, it's such a difficult, and to be open about it, like the way you have, I think that's the first step for all of us, is to acknowledge that actually it's not so beyond somebody's capacity to understand it, that is completely out of their reach of comprehension, that this could happen to them, that we've got to be very forgiving, and not so forgiving as the right word, but just to be open-minded, understanding because personally, a lot of my family members are going through it, some of my friends are going through it, and it's about how we learn to listen and hear, and not be judgmental, not have our views on what mental illness looks like. So that's a starting point. To listen, to really listen, not just to advise, to comment, but to be listening and hearing them, and hearing that voice, because that's the first time they might actually be heard for the first time. So that's my first takeaway, would be just to be here, to be that person, to be the person that's listening for that person, so that that somebody's actually heard them for the first time. So that's a starting point, because without that, they're in themselves, aren't they? And they've got no one to turn to. So that's my first comment.
Thank you, Meena ji, what you said as well. And what my awareness was, because I was so aware of it, and I have always taught that I want to face the challenge. I don't want to run away from it. And when I became aware and I wanted to face it, I had the tools that I learned in last 10 years. And I actually remember, talking to my mother, who was really struggling. She wanted to be here because of COVID. She couldn't be here. And she was saying, how are you coping on your own? And I said, look, I have learned so much in last 10 years. And maybe now I look back and see why God pushed me on that path. I knew that as a soul, I must have chosen this challenge. So I need to be prepared and ready for this. So I am going to handle it. And yes, some days I am going to, and some days I am totally broken. I am crying. I am in distress. And some days I'm so strong, just because I want to face that. I want to be real. I want to be authentic. And that's what I'm teaching my kids, saying, don't run away from your emotions, because we need to feel. One of my things I say to people, you need to feel those emotions to be able to heal it. But if we don't allow ourselves to feel, because it feels uncomfortable, it is uncomfortable. If you don't allow us to feel it, we cannot heal it, So that's first thing is, and that's why this chat is about awareness. It's about not me having great life. Yes, I'm having some aspects of my life are flourishing and are good and I'm enjoying. Some aspects of my life are not good. And that's okay, and being okay with it, and that's one of the Asian culture. I always feel what I have learned growing up, thinking that I have to be okay all the time. I have to be fine all the time. I have to put up this brave face. And I'm saying, but why? And that's where I want to ask this question. Why do I need to show people that I'm okay all the time when I'm not? Anybody else want to share?
Surajbhen?
I'd like to add something to what Sangeeta ji is just saying. And also Kirit ji, what she said. Same thing in my family as well. Someone very close to my heart has been through a lot, going through a lot. But in the beginning, I was not aware of anything about mental health. But then slowly, as I said, I was working as a welfare rights officer. So that time I took little training, only 2 days training. But that triggered me that I can do further more on this. So I did do basic counseling course, not so much, but at least that gave me confidence to how to talk to my loved one who was going through all this, because otherwise it's very difficult. And then it was so lovely that when I was talking to her, she was also teaching me. I said, I really don't know what to do in this situation, what to tell you in this situation. And she would tell me that, no, whatever you did, that really helped me. And what was that? I was just quiet. I was listening to her. I was just pottering around her, wasn't forcing her to do anything. I was just listening to her. And it brought our family closer as well. We all started to learn to listen to each other and support each other in any situation, whether sudden illnesses come. Like this year, my younger daughter was diagnosed with, like, she had clot in her brain. She might have gone for operation, but thank God that she's getting better. Last year, exactly around about same time, my other daughter, she was diagnosed with uh, it was something to do with heart. I forgot the name now. But again, she was also, we were told that she might have to go for operation. And it was very heartbreaking, so sudden. She never had any illnesses or any health problems. But going through all this is like, when you all are together, when you are supporting each other, it makes big difference rather than just judging and assuming that, no, I don't think this is right, you can do better, you can do more, but you have to have patience.
Yeah, that's such an important share. Thank you, Suraji. And
go on, Jazz, you want to say something? I'll ask you to unmute. You need to unmute, Jazz. No, you're still muted.
Is it Jazz? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I've unmuted now. Hi. Just a couple of things, just going on from what Kirit said and the last lady. Critical listening. I think people always think that if somebody is going through depression or anxiety or whatever, you've got to find an answer to them. But as they said, you don't have to do any of that. Just to give somebody 100% attention, to show that you're there for them and you are with them, and just listen. You don't have to say anything. They'll find their own answer. You don't have to give anything. Just sit there and listen. I know it's really, really difficult, and it's something that you almost have to train yourself to do, but that is a major, major thing. And secondly, I think within our community, when somebody has been diagnosed with depression, anxiety, etc., and they've been given antidepressants, which is really good thing to do. I think here, and I'm from East Africa, same as Madhu, people there and here and in India don't believe in taking medication. These things are, they'll take aspirin and they'll take paracetamol and everything else. Why can't you take antidepressant? It's helping you. Why can't you do that? Because only after taking that will you have the strength. I know you talked personally about having the strength. Not everybody is, when you're really down and into depression, you cannot think for yourself. You cannot be strong, you cannot be there, and you need help.
Absolutely.
And
beautifully said, Jazz, because what I'm sharing right now is my new way of being. I went into depression in 2009 and I wanted to give up on my life, and the only thing that stopped me was my boys were very young. They were 6 and 8. And that was the challenges. Since childhood I had challenges, one after the other. So when I was not shown, or I was not taught how to deal with it, the only thing I was taught is, shh, don't talk about it.
This is it.
You're angry? No, you don't talk about it. Girls don't get angry. They have to be smiley all the time. It doesn't matter. And we are taught that life is difficult, but you have to deal with it. Nobody tell us how to deal with it. We just say it, you have to deal with it.
You have to deal with it. And nobody listens.
Yeah.
Nobody has got the time to listen.
Absolutely. And that's something is very powerful what you said. And my actually kids taught me that, because as a parent, when your child is going through rough time, you always want to help them. You always want to find solutions for them. You always want to them. And I remember my son saying to me is, Mom, just listen.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting you to find an answer. I'm not expecting you to sort my life out. I just want you to listen. And he was only 7 years old. And I thought,
goodness.
Wow, what an awareness. And I said, okay, baby, I'm just going to be here with you. And the only thing I did is I hugged him when he was crying or he was in difficult time. And that's half of the job was done.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you, because when somebody's hurt, the a natural thing for you to do is to go and hug them. Don't cry. But crying is the thing to do. Yes. You have to teach them to cry. And, if you don't do that, this thing will come and haunt you in your future life. And people, this is it, be strong. No, you don't have to be strong. And don't go and protect them. Let them sort it out for themselves. If they're really seriously hurt, then only then do you, I think your son is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, he is. He taught me so much. But this question came about, and I want all of you to participate. Now we got 33 participants. I want you to put in a chat box and share how comfortable you are in crying. I really want you to share that, because that's one of the things we tell people, be brave, like in Hindi we say, you're my brave bacha, don't need to cry and it's okay and all that. So if you don't mind participating, of course, men and women. So if you can chat, put it, yes, you are comfortable crying, or no, I'm not comfortable crying. That'll be amazing participation. And if, of course, any of you want to share your story and you don't want to be on camera, that's fine. Just raise your hand and we'll unmute you, or just unmute yourself. And please do come and share, because this is precious space, and hopefully you feel safe in sharing your story.
Now then, Jazz mentioned about taking medication. Me and Dad don't like crying. Jazz mentioned something about medication, but how many of us are comfortable to access that health service? That's one of the issues, when we come to the cultural side of things. I was talking to Kidet. Both of us actually looked at a report which was published only 2 days ago, 3 days ago, on 10th of July. It was on Sky News. There was an article called One Size Fits All, and it was regarding mental health issues in Asians. So it's quite remarkable, you know. The psychologist was somebody Mystery. I think it was a Dr. Mystery, who's actually done a lot of work on the Asian community with regards to mental health, and these are the figures that were produced. You know, in the general white population, there are 4,030 people who access medical help per 100,000. So out of 100,000, 4,030 access medical help for mental health. When it comes to it was categorized, and the Indians, us Indians, were the lowest uptake, had the lowest uptake. It's 2,195 people access per 100,000, and that's less than even they've actually identified Pakistani who accessed, who were, there was more than 3,000 of them who access in comparison, and us Indians had the lowest uptake of
Medication.
seeking help.
Yeah.
So it's a real taboo, really, in our culture, really, that we seriously think we cannot shift that mental health is illness. You know, we actually stay in a corner and do not share.
Yeah.
And we suffer. There's a lot of people suffering in our community, and there are a lot of aspects which are cultural, you know, and again, you know, when you access the services, the professional people are not aware of the cultural aspects. So there is the communication that takes place is very superficial.
Yeah.
And the deep conversation that needs to take place does not take place. So correct health is not provided for mental health.
Yeah, it is like Meenaji was saying, you know, somebody on the helpline know that, you know, Meenaji is Indian, and then they open up. And I had the similar experience with one of my clients, and she has gone and done CBT and all these things. And she said she's been in counseling for 2 years, and she came to me for coaching and for Reiki healing. And I remember she said in 2 sessions, where I got to with her, I uncovered certain beliefs that she was holding in her unconscious and subconscious that comes from our upbringing, our cultural. And she said, within 2 sessions, you have cleared my issues that nobody understood in 2 years of my counseling. And why? Because we are from the same background. When she started to talk about her troubles and what she's going through it, I knew exactly where she's holding the pain, and she's not sharing it, and she just wants to be strong. She just wants to be there for people. First of all, thank you so much, guys, for sharing. I'm loving all the messages. Somebody is saying, yes, feel very comfortable crying. Some people are saying, no, not comfortable crying, you know, and yeah, so I'm not strong.
I'll just say something about crying. I don't cry, but I swear.
One way of releasing energy.
In my own space, I just swear at what's been going on, and then I calm myself down. But that's like, it happens. But then I cry in my own space as well, and it clears my head. But you are absolutely right about cultural differences and everything. And I think in our society, we call it a sign of weakness that for a woman, all right, you have to struggle, and you are supposed to struggle, and I mean, it's like And I think part of the reason is we keep on comparing ourselves with other people all the time. What would others say? What would they say? And it's like, they all seem so happy. How come I'm not happy?
Yeah.
And these are the things which stop them from asking for help.
But I think, in my opinion, we Asians show our emotions more than any other culture.
That is
We
true.
try and show
That
it.
is, we show it more than other people, but we are still not where it's healthy. We still try to hide away. I think we are very selective of who we show our emotions to, you know, which is, we need to open up more of that, because, you know, what Meenaji said, it's like comparison is always comes there, isn't it? You know, oh, well, they are doing okay. And I remember growing up actually and saying to my mom, well, don't compare me to my sister. There was always a comparison that my sister is a certain way, and my sister was always very studious and very shy, and I was very chatty, and I love people. And so she was saying, why do you talk so much? Girls don't talk so much. Girls don't laugh so much. You know, look at your sister. And I remember growing up feeling inferior than my sister, saying she's the perfect daughter or a girl and I am not. And that belief that sat in me when I was 7 or 8, that was given to me, I suffered a lot because of that, because I was trying to do something to please my mother and saying, hey, like me, you know, now I'm doing this, do you like me? You know, and that comparison need to stop. There is a lot of comparison, there is a lot of competition. I think we feed that since very young age. And there is a lot of things we need to talk about, definitely, and definitely about the taboo, the stigma of mental health. You know, I want to share that next week we will be joined by one of the psychiatrists. I love Dr. Payal. She will be joining in, and she'll be talking about the signs and symptoms and how we can, you know, self-diagnose and think, actually, am I suffering with mental health, or am I just little stressed? You know, because I think that's where it stops as well, because I remember saying to my friends, oh, I'm little stressed. So, well, everybody's stressed. Who is not stressed? So we just normalize it so much that we think, well, actually, I'm not ill. I don't need help because everybody is stressed. Part of it is true. The world we live in with social media, with this pandemic, people are stressed, but we need to know whether we are at that stage where I need to seek help, or is that in a normal zone? You know, that's where it needs to come. So next, on next week's session, we will definitely talk to Dr. Payal as well, who will share, you know, what signs to look out for and when to know that actually we need help, you know. So that'll be amazing thing. But Kavita ji, do you want to share? Do you know anybody who is suffering currently with mental health, or do you have any experience in your life you want to share? I love your smile. That's good.
I would say within the last 3 months, I've had 2 falls. I can't even walk at the moment.
Oh my God.
Live on my own. But when I'm walking and I find it difficult to walk, I just say, chal akela, aja Bhagwan help kar. That's all I say. And I shout and I laugh and I walk.
Oh.
I think that's the best way, because I told you, I said, I swear, when I can't do certain things, I swear at myself, not at other people or anything, but I said, why can't? And then afterwards I move on, but it's just something, it's a coping mechanism is what I call it.
Yeah.
Induji.
Anji, I know somebody who's going through depression at the moment, and she told me that the doctor is going to put her on antidepressant tablets, and I really want to help her, but I can only see her on Zoom. She's not local. How can I do that? How can I help her to get out of depression?
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to, as I share, I'm a life coach and I'm an energy healer. So people who are participating in these chat shows and things, I will open a platform for them, you know, for a group coaching or a group guidance, kind of call. And if they feel connected to me, we can create a safe space for them, so people to come and share their experiences, and for me to become listening ear and guiding them with a little bit of mindfulness, meditations, and certain things. So, if you feel comfortable, you can share, my contact. What I'll do is I will create, for Thursday, I want to create a 1 hour slot for people to come and talk to me if they want. And if they feel guided to work with me, that's great. If they just want to chat and for me to be there as a listening ear, then I'll be more than happy to be there for them as well. So definitely we have.
And the other thing, like Meena ji said before, we worry about what the people are going to say. So, but that's been part of our culture, our brought up.
Yeah.
It's always been sort of, you have to be careful, behave this way, otherwise how will, people will think about you. So because we've been brought up with that sort of
mindset, belief.
I think we sort of go overboard, and we hold things in ourselves too much. And that's what also sometimes gives us depression, or we feel low. Because of that, we can't express fully what we want to.
It's a big part of our culture, and that's why these conversations are important, so we can break those taboos and stigmas. And the thing is, I remember one of my favorite things to say to my mom, when my mom used to say, well, log kya kahenge? So I used to say, well, all those people you worry about it, what are they doing for me right now? Are they supporting me? Are they providing for me? What are they doing? So when people are not doing anything for me, why should I worry what people should say? They will say whatever they want to say. It's not going to change my situation. But again, that comes from working on yourself. That comes from that inner strength, which so many times we don't feel. I mean, at times in my life, I felt so vulnerable. I felt so weak. But again, constantly working on myself and saying, I want to be stronger, and I want to be there for people, yet I want to be there for me. So I think that is one part of my work, is I teach people how to love themselves enough that they don't care about what other people say. And that's a difficult thing, because that's very ingrained in us, as we said, mindset. Madhuji, you want to say something?
But that it's also, when you mentioned about worrying about that being part of the culture, now being aware that living two lives, you're going through something and you're not allowed to be yourself outside your box.
Very painful.
Causes conflict.
Yes.
That's living two lives, and we are living two lives all the time. It's not just, even outside our community, we're living a different life. We want to be acceptable. We want to be accepted. We don't want to be rejected. We want to be accepted by our identification. We don't want to disclose a lot of things to the wider community again.
Yeah.
So that's not healthy.
No.
It's not healthy. And what happens is that the minute we actually start being aware that this is harmful for me, being in such mode is harmful for me, for my mental health.
Yes. Yes.
That is the change. That is the shift we need to make.
Yeah. And it comes from the support, because we all at times feel weak to make that change on our own. And so if we have 10 people, or if we have 30 people saying, okay, I'm there for you, because at times what happens in our life, and one of my experiences is that our biggest pain is not that people are not there for me. Our biggest pain is that I am not there for me. When I need me, when I am suffering, I worry more about other people, what they think or what they will say, and not worry enough about, do I actually care about me? So I need to put myself first. And again, that comes from awareness. But most of us are sleeping. We are not even aware of that. We are just saying, hey, but this is who we
But
are.
it's also social isolation,
Yeah.
if you feel the isolation, or if you are isolated, in your group,
Yeah.
then you will suffer that mental health.
Yeah.
Because that's
Can I
part
just
of
say
one of the symptoms, is where you're not accepted, where in your family, in your society, in your friend circle, in your work situation, in your wider life.
Yeah.
So if there's isolation and you feel that isolation, then that can cause
A lot of anxiety. A lot of
anxiety.
anxiety comes from there. Yeah. Meena ji, you were saying something.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things is, I mean, I think most of us who live in this country have got two lives, all right? One is a work life where we are completely different people. We are ourselves because we got jobs. I mean, Madhu was a radiologist, so I mean, she had a job. She was respected out there. And then you come home, and then because of the family structures or something, you might not have you are a wife, you are a daughter, you are a daughter-in-law, you are a mom, everything. And what happens is sometimes there's a conflict between your thoughts of how you should be and how you are being how people look at you. And I think that's where the mental illness, and it's all in your head at the end of the day, and no one can see it because you haven't injured yourself. It doesn't show as a physical disability or anything like that. And so people find it very difficult to recognize it.
Yeah.
Because
Because
you've actually brought something else very fundamental, because we've when you were a child, what you actually saw, the society and the way your mother was, your father was, how they had to function. You take all the positivity within you, but you also carry that negativity with you,
absolutely.
and you carry that throughout your life. And then if you're exposed to that, it does affect you. So like, this is where the culture comes in, because our family situations are different, our relative situations are different, completely different from the compared
Real
to
life.
the white population. So there are issues that we actually are embedded, and your serious mental health doesn't happen just like that, because there are a combination of things which affect you, which actually allows you to have a serious mental illness. That's what, it's not just one single factor, because we don't release the negative side and we carry it. And that is so wider in the society, because somebody's doing something to somebody, and that carries on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just we are being very judgmental on ourselves as well, because other people are being judgmental, but then we judge ourselves quite badly as well, because sometimes you just don't think that you got the right to say certain things.
That is true. And that's what the cultural barriers that we need to break.
That's right.
And that only we will break by having these conversations and saying a lot more people are suffering. And, we feel that, and that's what is, a lot of people are asking how to get trained. Kavita ji has asked, Sashi ji has asked. Yes, I have created a beautiful course, which is either 12 steps to find inner peace, no matter what's going on in your life, or 5 steps if you're struggling and you want to create a little change. So as I said, I will share the same link if you guys can join me on Thursday, which is in 2 days, 8 o'clock on this same Zoom. And you can come and you can ask me as many questions as you want, and I will share how I can guide you and things. So at least then those questions will remain separately, but I would love to hold your space, to hear you out, to support you, because I know we all are, quite a lot of us are suffering in silence, and we need to stop that. You know, nobody needs to suffer. As I said, challenges are part of our lives, but suffering, we need to put to an end to it. So that's okay. A lot of people need to go. Thank you so much for being part of it. Madhuji, I'm so happy and so overwhelmed that many people have joined our chat as well. Guys, if you want to share any of your personal experiences, you can raise your hand or you can share in the chat. And it will be wonderful if you guys join us next week as well. What else? We need to carry on with the discussions of taboos, the stigma, the obstacles that hold us back, that stops us to live our beautiful life. Kavita ji, are you going?
I'm going, but I would like if Madhuji could put your Thursday's details again, please.
Of course, of course.
But
I will.
Same today's
details. Exactly.
I will remind you.
For the next Zoom. Thank you very much. It was very nice, and would love to get involved with mental illness, and get trained and help others.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It was nice meeting you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Yes, we will put the information in the group.
Okay, Ben, you've actually put a very good sentence here. Loneliness doesn't grow by being alone.
Beautiful, beautiful.
But I would say I'm alone, but I'm not lonely. That's how I express myself.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
With that note, if anybody's we'll open it to everyone. If anybody wants to say something or
ask any questions,
come forward, or please do. This is your opportunity before we close, or and put something on the chat if you wanted.
Absolutely. And what I can do is I can stop the recording now as well. So then I will leave this open for 20 minutes or 25 minutes if people have questions or they want to just share something. Is that okay, Madhuji?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. And as I said, just want to remind everybody for next week, invite your friends, invite your families, be here, be part of this change that we are starting. We are creating this safe space for all of you to come and share or just listen. Like we were saying, listening is important, and that's participation, just coming and sharing, your energy. I love lots of people. It just makes me really happy. So I will say thank you so much, Madhuji, for starting this momentum, and Meena ji for being part of it. And I'm really honored to be here. And yes, I'm going to stop the recording and we'll leave the space open for people to come and have a conversation or ask any questions.
I think Meena had a question or something. She was raising her hand.
Okay, I'll stop the recording and then we'll participate. Okay.